Hello everybody out there. I am on my way to the warehouse because a tea has just arrived and I want to go grab it and I want to go taste it and I want to get it up available for all you peeps out there. So a few weeks ago in my raw vlog, I randomly tasted a sample in front of camera and the tea blew me away, it blew Celine away, and I was in my late night tea drunken stupor claiming that this was potentially tea find of the year for me. And it was an Oriental Beauty, but it was a Chinese Oriental Beauty. And if you've seen that video, you know that I went a bit nuts. I went, oh, this is the most, I went a bit crazy. But now, in the sober light of day, the tea has arrived and I want to go grab it and I want to taste it against a competition winning Oriental Beauty, of which I've done a video before. I'll put a link in the description below so you can see that video. A competition winning tea that had me sort of debating the future of Oriental Beauty, the future of this famous tea from Taiwan, this famous oolong from Taiwan, because I felt that the competition approach and the whole trend in Oriental Beauty was moving too far away from tradition and too much towards very nice, clean, bright aromatics and a very sort of sweet, clean taste, but lacked the depth and the structure and the mouthfeel that I am always looking for when I drink teas. And it was the same case with most Oriental Beauties that I try. In fact, pretty much, I would say 80% of Oriental Beauties that I try are either too sort of clean and aromatic, very nice aromatics, and some people really love them, and I want to state this very clearly. This is a matter of opinion or a matter of taste. This is not a right or wrong. Some people really love the clean, bright taste of what I'll class as Taiwanese competition winning Oriental Beauties, and I would say 80% of what I try is of that style. And I like them, and I know people will enjoy them, but for me, I can't hand on heart say that is something that I would gift to my best friend, which is the criteria that we use for May Leaf. And the other 20% is the opposite. It's just very low aromatics, very woodsy, very sort of too physical, too deep, deep in the sense of just sort of like the balance has been just kicked off, and it's now down in the mids and the bases and the woodsy notes. And so when I tasted this tea in my raw vlog, I was like, whoa, the balance, it got hit. This has got intensity, it's got richness, it's got mouthfeel, but it's still got amazing aromatics. It's still bursting with the incredible bug-bitten aromatics that we look for in Oriental Beauty. I just realized that that's probably very bright and I'm very dark. Apologies. You know, can't control the sun, unfortunately. We'll get there. So yeah, so now I want to head over to the warehouse. I want to grab it and I'm going to go back home and do a taste test against the Oriental Beauty. I'll see if I can make that blind. I'm not sure if I can, but let's find out. Can Yunnan Oriental Beauty beat, to my taste, beat, not to everybody's taste, but to my taste, beat the Taiwanese Oriental Beauty? Let's find out. Hello. Hi, how are you? All right, just came back from the warehouse and here's the tea. There's the warehouse. I didn't want to film the people because, you know, I don't want to do that to people. Stick a camera in their face. Here's the tea. Looks very good. And I saw that also we've got our new gyokuros in, so I have to do a video about that. And then more samples. All right, let's go. Back amongst the chaos here, and I want to sit down and drink this tea. Here we, oh no, that's the wrong one. That's the gyokuro. I want to drink that too, but this is the one I want to try. We're probably going to call it Yunnan Beauty, just to not confuse things. Camera set up here. I've even set up the cameras in anticipation. So you ready to move to the proper format? 3, 2, 1. Like magic, we're set up. Although this is not my normal setup. Normally I'd have more lights, but I'm going a bit raw. The last video I did was a bit raw, and everyone said, I like the raw. So I was like, hey, baby, you like it raw. That's cool with me. I like it raw too. It means that I have less editing to do, although I do have another camera up here just so that we've got some close-ups. Right, so focus, son. This is very important. Yunnan Beauty, Yunnan Oriental Beauty. You can check out all of the scope information on the website because I don't have it in my head, but it'll be something like spring 2025 season. Cultivar is the Ranzhi cultivar. Now, some of you may remember Forest Jam. Forest Jam is or was, depending if it's still online, a black tea made from the same cultivar. So this is traditionally an oolong cultivar from Taiwan that has been grown in Yunnan, and it's the Renji, I think that's how you pronounce it, Renji cultivar, and it's traditionally an oolong cultivar. So I'm just going to put a nice bunch there, and we can compare the leaves compared to this 2-plum competition-winning Oriental Beauty from Miaoli in Taiwan, and you will see there will be a difference in look. Not a huge difference, but a difference. All right, let's take a look at these, and we're going to do a tasting. I don't think we can do a blind tasting on this because it's going to be very hard for me to blind myself. It's possible, but I think that I'll be able to see the leaves and it will be a bit fake because unless I'm blindfolding myself all the time. But I'll probably try to pour them into the cups and then do a blind tasting. All right, let's take a look. You can see the Taiwanese one looks more buddy, a little bit more bud material. Similar sort of size picking, maybe a slightly larger picking on this one compared to this one. A little bit more whole picking compared to this one. I mean, if you were to look at both of these leaves and say, which one is the most premium? I think it would be tough, actually. Actually, there's quite a lot of large leaf pickings on the Taiwanese one. Looking at it here. I guess you would say this one looks a bit higher quality picking than this, but it's like for like, very, very little difference. And many of the Oriental Beauties that I have purchased in the past, and we call it Eastern Beauty, because I'm not a big fan of the word Oriental, but that's probably not good for sales because it means that people searching for Oriental Beauty don't find us. So we call it Eastern Beauty, and we're going to call this one Yunnan Beauty, just so that there's a reference. But a lot of the Oriental Beauties, Dongfang Meiren, Eastern Beauty, however you want to call it, Bai Hao Oolong, a lot of these teas that I've purchased have been kind of rougher, larger leaf pickings. And the reason for that is, I will try not to bang on about it too much, but you'll hear me say it a lot, is I like to have texture and body, right? And if I don't have it, and tea's all aroma and no texture and body, there are equivalents in the human world, right? Sort of, that sort of easy on the eye, like an instant appeal. But does the character have depth? Does the character have dynamics? Does the character have a journey, an experience that is not just aromatic? And that's always my concern. I should really weigh this out if I'm doing it properly, isn't it? That would be good. Let's weigh this out so that we can not be accused of doing an unfair test. All right, so Yunnan Beauty, let's put 5 grams in. That's 5 grams. Okay, so 5 grams into here, and let's give it a smell while the pot is warm. Here we go. Focus, sun, wake up, olfactory brain, let's go. I've got a little bit of a cold, it's not going to help, but we'll see. Okay, so what I want to get across here is this. What I'm getting is a spectrum of from base to mids to highs. I am getting, let's move up the EQ. I am getting dark custards, like very cooked down custards, panna cotta. I'm getting a tiny touch of cocoa, a little bit of cocoa in there, right? Very unusual for an Oriental Beauty. Let's move up. I'm getting a little bit of varnish, some woods, some cherry cough syrup. So we're moving into that woodsy to resinous to fruity. I'm getting some top notes, but not a huge amount of top notes. The top notes are in the loquat or longan. A touch of, going back down the spectrum, a touch of coconut as well. A touch of slightly toasted coconut. And then a fresh yogurt note, like a raw natural yogurt note. So it's slight acidity as well. I realize there's not much in here, so I'm gonna put in a bit more and then we'll even it out. So I'm gonna put 7 grams in. I wanna make sure that this is a good amount of tea and I wanna be fair. So 7 grams of tea is going in here. So I always want more, but I'm gonna resist. Okay, so now let's compare that smell to 7 grams of this Oriental Beauty. Immediately notice, looks like 7 grams, looks like more leaf. What does that tell you? Give you a second. So 7 grams here, and yet visually it looks more leaf to me. Well, that is a combination of the fact that the leaves are fluffier, so they're occupying more volume, or there's more air in here. But also, you have to question density. These plants from Taiwan are going to be young, simply because Taiwan is a small island in comparison to China, and it needs to focus on yield, and they tend to pull out old bushes and put in new bushes to make sure that they maximize yield from an area, and they do that on rotation. And so generally these trees are going to be younger. Now I don't know the age, so I am speaking just as a generalization. Usually less rich tea is less dense. Again, I'm just throwing out observations, right? But there's also the fluffiness of the leaf and the fact that you have more air in between. Here we go, smell this. Very, very different smell. Immediate appeal, immediate appeal. I'm getting honey. I'm getting geranium. I'm getting citronella. I'm getting all of the classic hallmark notes of an Oriental Beauty. Very bright. Yes, there is some mid notes. I would say, like, again, sort of soured cream moving to custard, so there's a creamy note in it, and then you're getting these bright hits. So if you smelt these two together, very, very different. Hard to say which one I prefer, but I would say that if you did a poll, most people would prefer this one in terms of aromatics, because it is in your face with fruits and honey, but there is still nice warmth. There is still a touch of cocoa in here, whereas this one is just milkier, creamier, and warmer. But now let's rinse them. I always say dry leaf smell is great and should be appreciated, but it's nothing compared to when you wake the leaf up. up with warm water. Okay, Yunnan Beauty. Yeah, because now the top notes are coming out. This reminds me of a dansong. This reminds me of those Milanxiang dansongs. It reminds me of, I'm getting stone fruit, I'm getting peach, I am getting geranium, I'm getting citronella. I am getting the notes that I got from the dry leaf here, but they've only revealed themselves in the wet leaf. We'll talk about that in a bit, but I've got something to say about that. But vinyl, that vinyl to just bright, fresh, like geraniums and citrus fruits. Grapefruit skin. Grapefruit moving to orange. It's sort of like in between. It's not as twangy as a grapefruit, but it's not as deep as an orange. It's sort of in between. So this citrus, citronella, honeyed, beautiful honeyed note mixes with the vinyl, mixes with the woods, mixes with the sort of cherry cough syrup into the fruit leathers, into the woods. It's a whole cascading spectrum of aroma. And it stays in the nose. It's just like dense and foggy in my nose. All right, let's compare that with the OG OB. Here we go. Like, you take that spectrum, you EQ out pretty much a lot of the base notes, and you're left with the top notes, and then, true to say, you're amping up the top notes. A little bit of, so the base notes are in now the marzipan sort of note. So marzipan sweet, moving to fruits, like really like lovely fruits. Apricot. Yeah, that honeyed citronella, citrus fruit, touch of elderflower, touch of creamy white flowers, lotus. It's very beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful smell. If you compared the two together, I mean, you would definitely say, without any doubt, that if you put these in front of people would say this is the more pretty smell. It's a glorious floral and fruit aroma with honey. This one is much more complex. This one is the one that, because it's got more information. Okay, so this is the theme here. Because it's got more information, you don't easily pick out the individual notes better. So we have like a conversation here about clarity versus complexity. And like I said in the car, this is a matter of taste. It's not something that, like, you know, is a right or wrong. Clearly, this one at, I think, pretty much more than double the price, or around, yeah, it's probably double the price of this one, at least, has just got instant appeal on the nose. This one is, it's an amazing aroma, don't get me wrong. But because it's got those woods, and because it's got the creams, and because it's got the honey is more forest honey. It's a more complicated honey. Imagine if you have like wildflower honey. Like, oh yeah, it smells of wildflowers. And then you smell forest honey and you're like, wow, it smells of location. It smells of, I smell the forest. I smell everything. And that's really, you know, the big difference here. And something that you as a tea buyer or as a tea consumer needs to, like, you know, experience and say, well, which, you know, what do you prefer? What are you looking for? Now, if you had just said you will only buy this tea on taste, that's your only on smell, like smell is the only thing that you're going to be using, like you're never going to taste this tea, then I would be hard pressed to choose between them. I really would. I'd be like, oh, I love that complexity, but I love that really clear, singing, bright, oomphiness of that, OB aroma. I would really have a tough time. But in my experience with all of these teas, the clincher is when you brew it. So let's see, we'll brew them both at the same time for the same amount of time, there or thereabouts, and then we will taste them. And I will see if I can blind it, because I did pick the same cups. Although, honestly, if I can't tell the difference between these two, then it's time for me to retire. We'll see how they brew out, how different they are. I'm brewing with the same teapot, so I'm measuring the same amount of water. And we'll let them brew. I'm brewing with 95-degree water. You can brew 90 if you want more of the aromatics. And I think this is also very key. How you brew it's going to make a big difference, especially with this tea on the left. Because if you have a tea which is mostly aromatic forward, or has a big emphasis on aroma, and doesn't have the richness of body and texture, then the temperature that you brew it is going to make a difference, but it's not going to make as much of a difference. Whereas when you are brewing a tea that has more body and texture, you can then EQ, you've got more control. You can say, I'm going to brew lower temperature just to attenuate those basier notes, textural physicality, and I want to just highlight more of the aromatics, the high bright aromatics. You can brew cooler and you can brew shorter. If, however, you want to accentuate the those notes, the body and texture, then you can brew like I'm brewing now, hot and longer. You don't have as much flexibility or versatility when you have an aroma forward tea. Right. Look at the leaves, if you can see, look very similar. I mean, maybe a bit darker, the OB one in terms of its color. Maybe a bit more uniform in terms of its picking, but very, very close. All right, should have figured this out because I haven't marked any of these. Do I have a sticker? Okay, so I've got a sticker. So one has got an orange sticker, the other does not, and I'll put the Yunnan Beauty in the orange, and I'll put the competition-winning Oriental Beauty here, and I'll put these to the side so that we don't mix them up. As I said, if I can't taste the difference, then that is insane. That would be totally insane to me. Now I know, what am I doing? This is crazy, But, if you start to watch my vlogs, you'll know that I do this quite regularly, where I try to just blind myself by just talking. What should we talk about? Let's talk about, oh, we've got gyokuro in. That's cool. So gyokuro, why am I mixing the pots? We got gyokuro in. So that's been a while since we've had gyokuro. I'm excited to launch that. And we've also got an amazing Hunan brick that I'm trying to launch all today. All right, here we go. Let's taste these. Okay, so that is the Taiwanese. Too easy. And the reason I know that is because it hits me with tons of beautiful aromatics, of which I've talked about before. Citronella, citrus fruit, geranium, honey. Amazing, like tick, 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 all the things that you would want. Like if you had a checklist of what is the Oriental Beauty aromatic profile, you'd say hotrinol, honey, you'd say linalool, the citrusy fruits, you'd say geraniol, which is like geranium and those kinds of flowers, and then you can throw other stuff in there, but those are sort of your main headlines. But as predicted, because I've tasted this tea before, as soon as I swallow, I'm left with, what some people may term as clarity, but I put under the heading of emptiness. And emptiness is one of those things, right? Like, emptiness is powerful. Emptiness has a beauty about it. So you can talk about emptiness in a positive way, but in this instance, I'm not. I'm talking about emptiness in the sense of it's lacking. It leaves me with a sweetness, sure. It leaves me with, again, a little marzipan, cherry wine, umeshu, a little umeshu marzipan sweetness. And there's clarity, it's clean. There is nothing offensive about it at all. But what I find offensive about it, or what I find so disappointing about it, is it feels deficient. It feels lacking. It feels lacking in richness. It feels lacking in body. It feels lacking in an expression of terroir. It feels lacking in an expression of the bush and the life that bush has led. I'm not tasting history. Let's compare it with Yunnan Beauty. Just a world of difference. Texturally thick, smooth. As soon as I swallow, bam, minerals. There you go. We've been growing in ancient soil. We're old. You know, taste the minerals that we've been sucking up from the soil, and feel them texturally. Got physicality, getting quench. I'm getting some fizz. Taste. Breathe out through the nose. I'm hit with the hot trianol. I've got the honey. I'm hit with the geraniol. I'm hit with the citronella. I'm hit with the citrus fruits. It's all there. It's all there. But there's more. There's creams. There's woods. You can even see the color. I already know, right? That's richer, that tea. I mean, the thickness in the mouth is amazing. Yeah, like beautiful, fresh cut, resinous wood. Moving into some little library note, like a little bit antique wood as well. The resin is there. A touch of dansong vinyl. That dansong, like pool vinyl, moving into stone fruit. This has more stone fruit than this one. I talked about apricots with this one, but the Yunnan Beauty has more nectarine, peach. And then those top notes. The honey, forest honey, moving into, yeah, that bright, zesty, bug-bitten taste. Reminiscent a little bit of amber gaba or Bai Hao Oolongs that just have that honeyed, fruity note to them. Let's compare it to the original competition-winning Oriental Beauty. Location-wise, this is all up here. As soon as I drink it, it's here. My mouth is like inoffensive afterthought. It's all here. So it is more intense in terms of an aromatic hit of that clean band of OB bright notes. That's maybe what the competition judges are looking for. Very clear, distinct, less distinct, less clear, more complex, more rich, more depth, more body, more. But in that more, you need to seek out the aromatics a little bit more. They're there, they're very present and prominent, but nothing like this one, which is just very much punchy in your face. And it is so clear to me which one is my preferred tea. Like I said before, if you had just asked me to choose on smell, it would have been more of a toss-up. Here it's just an easy decision for me. But I recognize that this is not the same decision for everybody. That some people will prefer the clarity. Some may call it elegance, although I don't think that word applies, but I'm just sort of imagining what other people would say of this one. And the very sweet, simple aftertaste of it. Like it's a lovely, lovely, lovely tea. But I want more. I want more, and this gives me more. I'm getting that yogurt note, that natural yogurt note, and that mixed with the honey note is just sublime. It's just sublime. I sometimes get that natural yogurt note with the young coconut in TEAWARE, and I can just feel that Chinese oolong character coming through. It has some reminiscence with TEAWARE. I mean, it's very different, but you know how you get those lovely floral and slightly creamy acidity of a TEAWARE? That's in this tea as well. This tea is full of character. This tea is full of history. This tea expresses something to me that this one doesn't. Or, well, what this one expresses to me is, and I know because I in the last video I did, I was accused of being pro-Chinese, and this is not political. This has got nothing to do with the drama, right? This is just simply an observation from one tea drinker to other tea drinkers. But what I taste here is too much human manipulation. And what I mean by that is I don't mean it's fake. I mean by that is that what's happened is that there have been some judging criteria that said, we want these notes, max them. All right. And manipulate the leaves, sure, use the terroir, of course, you've still got Miaoli, the historical terroir, etc., etc. But, you know, let's max out the clarity of these notes that are what the judges are looking for. And if you're a judge of Oriental Beauty, feel free to come and argue with me about this, because I'm happy to hear your thoughts. But these bushes taste young. They taste like they were not left to just beam, to just have that natural quality about them, that it was too formulated and manipulated to make a very clear tasting tea. And the beauty and art of tea is the symbiotic relationship, the synergy of man, human, and nature. That mix, especially with oolong teas, is the joy. And getting that balance right so that you have an expression of the human intention and the expression of nature is very, very key in tea. And I always say start with nature, then work with nature to add your intention, add your ideas, you know, go crazy, but like start with, like, get the best raw material that has that richness and character, and then, you know, do what you want to do. But if the balance of that relationship falls too heavily onto human intention, and you start to almost manipulate nature to try to bring out that too much, I think that's where teas start to fall flat for me. You know, it's not just Taiwan. That happens in China with lots of teas. There's loads of, like, Taiwanese is a perfect example. There's loads of Taiwanese that I taste. I'm like, you've just gone for bringing out aromatics, and you've picked young leaves, and you've increased yield, and you've worked out a system to bring out the best aromatics. Bam, bam, bam. But when I taste it, it's empty. This is not political. This is simply a trend in tea that I've been talking about for years, right? And I'm always banging on about it. Traditional Taiwanese, where has it gone? Why can't I get Shifu's pudding anymore? No one's making it. Why? Because the trend moved, and we lost the joy of complexity, the joy of the awkwardness, the joy of the depth, the joy of the tradition, the Chuan Tong style. And it needs to stop, or it needs to be rebalanced, because, well, what will happen is what is happening. In my opinion, China is making better Oriental beauty than at least this one from Taiwan. And I know, you can pick that little, you can clip that and make me sound like I'm, being anti-Taiwan. I'm not. This needs to be controlled. So much better, in my view. Oh, it's so complex. It takes me on a journey. I'm in the forests. I'm tasting the flowers. I'm tasting the fruits. I'm tasting the honey. I'm transported. I'm transported to land. I'm transported to nature. I'm in a supermarket. Yeah, I've got the fruits. They're all there. Yep, I can smell them. All the ingredients are there, but I'm not transported to a place anymore. Does that make sense? And this will give me so many more infusions. I know it. I already know it. I mean, I will test it, but I know it. There's richness in these leaves. It's going to give me so many infusions, and it's going to give me a journey. It's because it's got so much more going on. Everything will have their own little cameos. It will just come and go, and there'll be an interest in this journey. This one will be like, it's lovely, it's the same, and it will just gradually, the aromatics will tail off, and then you'll have, like, a lovely experience. I will just reiterate one more time that this is a matter of taste. I am 100% sure that if I present these two teas in front of people, and I'll try to do that at the tea house and film it, if I present these teas in front of people, I know that some people will prefer this tea. So, this is just my opinion. One tea drinker's opinion to another. Feel free to share yours. Please don't accuse me of being political, though, because I don't want to have those arguments. And go find the perfect Oriental beauty for you. This one, Yunnan Beauty, will be in the May Leaf selection. We have got an OB finally in the selection, but we won't call it OB, just out of respect to the naming protocols. Yunnan Beauty, available now. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Keep drinking whatever you want to drink, and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea.